Hey, my friend, how are you? It is a rainy day here in San Diego. I'm in my car. I feel really relaxed. I'm getting some laundry done over here, and I thought I would jump on here and just create a video for you because I've had a lot of feedback about sharing my transformational story and some of the challenges that I went through early on. And also, I want to talk a little bit or reveal more of what my previous lifestyle looked like and what it looks like today and the progression over the last 10 years. So the way I'm going to do this is break it into probably segments because this is going to take me about at least 20 minutes to do. So I'm going to break this up into segments. So if you're watching this right now, just know, look for the part 2. And this is going to be a really exciting opportunity for me to share with you some of the challenges, because I'm going to say this before I even get started. I've been able to accomplish some things that very few people are able to do, and something that takes a lot of willpower, takes a lot of it takes a lot of just dedication every single day. And it also takes a really strong mindset to like push through, because there's going to be sticking points. There's going to be points of fear and anxiety that come up, because anytime you're trying to heal yourself or get better from some sort of symptom that you have been diagnosed with, you're always going to go through some challenges. You're always going to have some points that just are not going to be easy, and you have to push through them and have to have good support systems. So this video is going to be about my transformational story, some of the things that I went through. And if you haven't already, there's a little bell notification somewhere up there at the top. You want to click that so that way we can stay connected on the next videos. I'm posting daily videos, so I'd love to share that experience with you so we don't lose touch and we can stay connected virtually. As we move into this health journey, I want to talk about where it all began. So for me, in 2010 and 2011, life got real. All right. I had a couple of near-death experiences. My lifestyle was completely different. And in 2012, when I started my whole journey with cellular detoxification and regeneration, it was probably, from this point, from 2020, it was about 2012 when I really had that chance to get started, when I understood what I was going to be doing with cellular regeneration and detoxification. I'll talk more about that. Let me just build the context here for you guys. So in 2012, I was 249 pounds, 6'3", was wearing a size 36-inch waist. Now, just to give you some comparison, I'm about 190 pounds. I'm still 6'3", I think so. And I'm now a 32-inch waist. And over the last 10 years, I've pretty much stayed the same. I did have a little phase in the very beginning where I actually got down to 175 pounds, somewhere right in between 170 and 175. And so I just want to put some emphasis on that so you get the contrast. I lost 70 pounds. Okay, I went from 249 to 170 pounds. And this was over about an 8-month process. And let me back up here just so I can keep explaining some of the context of everything. So to give you an idea of how all this began, I was working a stressful job. I was about 29 or 30 years old. I was staying up late hours, working a stressful job, using alcohol, drugs, steroids, was a growth hormone, a combination of all of this very destructive lifestyle, and all of this left me with developing heart disease, high blood pressure, was a borderline diabetic, had sugar metabolism issues. They call it adrenal fatigue or exhaustion, digestive issues, acid reflux, had severe acne, cystic acne. Gosh, man, a whole laundry list of things. And so through all of these, through the diagnosis of this chain of events, I was right around 30 years old, and I remember I felt invincible. First of all, I felt like I could just do anything and my body would just rebound back. Well, when I got that diagnosis, it was like the sheet had just been pulled out from under me. And I remember the doctor wanting to prescribe medications and high blood pressure medications, and I declined it. I didn't take, or I didn't fill the prescriptions. I ended up wanting to find an alternative route. But at that point, the interesting thing is that at 30 years old, I had never eaten a single vegetable. I hated vegetables, and I emphasize that I did not eat a vegetable until I was 30 years old. There was no guacamole, no salsa, no salads. My parents tried everything to get me to eat food with some nutritional value. I just never did it. I didn't like the taste of vegetables. No beans, nothing. None of those items went into this body until after 30 years old. So, and fruit was the other high nutritional foods that I just didn't consume. So my diet was the standard American diet, also known as SAD, the SAD diet. And my diet really consisted of like cereals, pastas, pizzas, things that come frozen, sandwiches, loved some sandwiches, peanut butter, jelly. There's so many things that I used to eat that were just lots of fast food. Wendy's probably 3 times a week, Biggie Fry, Junior Bacon cheeseburgers. So I was like really in a destructive phase, and didn't really know what was going on until I got this diagnosis. And then it was like, it's a wake-up call. So that was my pivotal moment on when things got real, and I started to shift into something new, something different. My job was making money, really became the center of my focus at that age. I was highly focused around working hard. I thought the harder that I worked, working 6 to 7 days a week, 12, 13-hour days, that was the recipe for success. And so I was compromising my health to make money. And I don't know if any of you out there can relate to that, but I know a few people who are CEOs of a very successful company, and these are friends of mine, and I look at them and they've got successful businesses, great business relationships. The thing is that they're missing is the key component to longevity is their health, their body. Unfortunately, they're overweight. They have all kinds of symptoms and issues going on, from diabetes to heart disease and prostate issues and cancers and stuff. So I look at these men who are highly successful and know how to make money, but they've compromised their health over that. And I was on that path too. So the working the long hours, the heavy use of the drugs and the alcohol, and all of this combined together basically, left me with all of these symptoms, all these issues. And I thought, let me just look up online to see if there are what is possible with healing the body naturally. And so, mind you, at this time, I didn't know anything about vegetables, vegan, plant-based, cellular healing and detoxification. I didn't know a thing about it. So when I started to Google how to heal your body naturally, I started getting, there was a video that came up on, it was a YouTube video, and I'll never forget it because it's what really got me on this path. It was one of the beginning steps onto getting onto this path. So this man was out in front of his RV, and he was talking about fruits and vegetables and the benefits and the values of each one of them. And then what he was talking about is making it into a juice and drinking it. And I thought to myself, a light bulb went off, thinking, drink your juice, not eat it. Brilliant. So, you know, I didn't like vegetables back then. So first thing I do is a light bulb turns on. I listen to what he had to say. I went in, everything that he said about cucumbers for hydration, the celery will help alkalize your body, the fruits will detoxify. All these things were just clicking, and I was inspired instantly. I went out, I got a juicer, the Breville Juice Fountain Elite. I spent $300 or $350 on this juicer and had never even heard of one before. So this was a brand new experience. I remember getting the vegetables from the store, and I was pretty excited because I had never enjoyed eating carrots. Apples were okay. So I got carrots, apples, parsley, lemon, and ginger. I went home, I put all this through the juicer, and surprisingly, it actually tasted palatable. It was sweet, and that juice was what changed my life. It saved my life. Because what I started doing is every single morning I woke up, I would make that juice in a 32-ounce mason jar. That was the first thing I would do every day. Then after that, I didn't change anything else in my diet. I just had the eggs after that. And mind you, I was eating enough protein to feed a small family at that time. I was 249 pounds. I was eating anywhere from 10 to 20 egg whites. Serious amounts of protein, okay? Because I thought that eating more protein equaled bigger muscles. And if I overconsumed, I would get more. And what I've discovered at 40 years old is that less is actually better, because the more protein you consume, and you'll see this in some of these bodybuilders. When I was 240 pounds, I was eating close to 240 grams of protein per day. What happened as a byproduct of that is my kidneys started to shut down, okay? Started having elevated blood pressure. And what's interesting about this whole story is that when I changed things and I started adding in this juicing every day, within just a few short weeks, about 4 to 6 weeks, the blood pressure started to go down. Now, I wasn't changing anything in my diet at that point. I was just adding in a juice a day. And then I would go on and have the pizza for dinner and all the other garbage that I was eating at that time. So what's interesting is this was a project for me because I knew nothing about fruits and vegetables, juicing. I was not an expert. I was a beginner, and I was somebody that was committed to getting myself healthy and well. So my mind was sound. It was my mental, I was clear that I was going to do this. And I think that's the first step in healing yourself, is you have to get really clear. You have to have something that moves you into action, and then you have to stay committed to that action so that you can continue on your journey. Because guess what? Fear is going to get in the way very, very often in the beginning. And you're going to say, you're going to want to go back to old habits. You're going to want to crumble under pressure. One day you don't feel so good. You're going to say, oh, this is not working. And you're going to go back to your old habits. And what happens there, I've seen it with clients that I coach and people that I work with, is that sometimes it's like 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. And it happened like that for me too. But mentally, I was prepared because I wasn't going to give up. I didn't stop ever. So I went into this juicing journey. 4 or 6 weeks in, blood pressure starts going down. My weight starts dropping. Very slow progression, right? after I started seeing some results, I got more excited, but I wasn't done yet because the journey was just in the beginning phases. I hadn't even scratched the surface of what I'm about to share with you. So I get into this journey and I started noticing these progressive steps forward, and right around probably the 3-month mark, somewhere between 3 and 4 months, let's just say, something amazing happened. Okay, I started actually craving and wanting foods that had color. So remember, before this, I was eating basically anything that was without color. So things that were in boxes and cans and cooked, meats that were brown, and there was no yellows and reds and greens in my diet. So what's interesting, I was very observant and aware of that at that time, and I remembered that I was like the craving of greens and fruits. I wanted a salad for the first time in my life. All right. So I was so excited. I went to the store. I picked out the fruits. I picked out the vegetables. I went home, and for the first time, I made a salad. And I think at that point in my life, I was using a dressing that was probably like ranch, just so I could get it down and experience it. I'd coated it all in ranch. What's interesting now is I can eat a salad with like lemon juice on it. So the interesting part is, now this is 3 to 4 months in, now I was craving things with color, fruits and vegetables. So I was still doing the juice in the morning, then I started craving salads, and that's where things started to change. So my life started to change dramatically 3 to 4 months in. And what's interesting, you guys, is that at that point, when things started to shift, guess what happened? The other foods that I was eating, the eggs, the meat, the cheese, the dairy, the breads, the pastas, all of that stuff slowly, in time, started to slowly etch its way out of my day-to-day diet. The cravings just slowly started to go away because my cells in my body were now getting nourished. They were getting this nourishment that I had never experienced. I didn't know what it felt like to feel alive. I didn't even know that I was feeling that bad, honestly, until I started feeling good. Then it woke me up to the fact that, like, wow, I'm feeling really good. And what else is possible? So my mind starts turning, and it moves me into this whole phase of excitement, new exploration, feeling good. By the way, my weight was slowly going down as I'm adding in more fruit, adding in more vegetables. My weight's going down. By this time, I'm down to like 220 pounds. And I remember getting on the scale at 205 pounds and going, I haven't been at this weight since high school. And I was almost 30 years old. Or actually, I think at that point I was 30 years old. Hadn't been at that weight since high school. I had a memory, but it was very vague. I couldn't remember. What I do remember is at that weight, I felt like I was not strong. I felt like that's a weight where I would get pushed around. Because my nickname before this, when I lived in Atlanta, I went by my middle name, which was Michael. And so my nickname was Big Mike, 249 pounds. I was a big dude. And so the thought of, as a man, losing that amount of weight, 70 pounds, brought me back to the feeling of being small, being picked on, not liked, not being good enough. It pulled up a lot of shit to the surface, and I had to work through it. And I remember being a little bit scared of like pushing through that. And so, at that point, I was pretty committed. I was feeling better. Things were starting to turn on. I felt alive. And I'm going to continue this on part 2 on the video. So stick with me, okay?